Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and as you saw from our introduction, the Sculpture Park is new, and we're going to find out about all the news, the new stuff at the Sculpture Park. But before we begin that, we are live this evening, so if you would like to give us a call, feel free to give us that call. It's 781-270-9199. I always forget that number. I apologize. Or you can email me anytime, day or night, at talk@bcattv.org. If you have a suggestion for a future topic, I'd love to hear about it. We kind of have a skeleton crew for this evening. I think it's still, everybody trying to get those last minute vacations in before school starts pretty soon. But we do have Chris Flaherty, staff member here, making sure that everything runs smoothly. Thank you, Chris. And we also have Evan McNamee, who is learning how to be a one-man show behind the scenes, so he is directing this evening. And as always, I would like to thank my husband Paul for staying home for daddy date night, even though you get a break because half of the daddy part is here being director. So anyway, still want to thank you for that. And now I would like to introduce my wonderful guest, whom you may remember from back in October, Barbara LaRue, who is the founder. Are you founder?
No, I'm not the founder.
You're not the founder,
no,
but you're
the current chair of the Sculpture Park.
Okay,
Committee.
current
Yes.
chair of
Yes.
the Sculpture Park.
Yes.
Which has been around for...
We just passed our 2-year mark. Yes.
Yay.
The committee's been around for longer than that. The first installation at the park happened just a little over 2 years ago.
Right in the middle of COVID. You had to cancel your grand opening.
Yes, we did.
And as we will talk about in a couple of minutes, you're going to have a grand reopening coming up.
We have a lot of exciting new sculptures, and I think so far the community seems to be very receptive to them.
Absolutely. Okay, but before we get into the discussion about the Sculpture Park, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington area, and what directed you into working with the Sculpture, or on the Sculpture Park Committee?
Well, I grew up right here in Burlington, so that's what brought me here. I didn't go far.
I had no choice.
Moved away for a short period of time, and then when I got married, my husband and I were looking for a house, and we ended up back here in Burlington. We've always been very happy here. I'm not an artist, but I am a great admirer of art. My mother is an artist. My sister is an artist. My brother-in-law is a sculptor, actually.
Oh, okay.
But the Sculpture Park idea actually came from the master plan committee that was talking to the town about the future of the town.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people that expressed a desire for more culture and art in Burlington.
And that Burlington was more than just a mall.
Exactly.
I remember that.
And our town meeting member, Jonathan Sachs, really took that idea and ran with it. And he is the founder, and he spent a good probably 2 years just promoting the idea before anything really took root. And then there was enough interest and excitement about it that we formed this committee, and it is a subcommittee of the planning board. Because I'm on planning board, that's how I got in.
There we go. Okay, I knew there was a connection
somewhere. That's how it all
somewhere.
connects up, yes. But it's a great committee. It's very active. We have members from we have a member from Select Board, Planning Board, Recreation, Schools, Library, a community member, and a town meeting member.
Wow.
So we have representation from all different
pretty
areas in
good
town. Yes, and it's
scope.
served us very well because everybody brings different perspectives in.
Okay.
And the school's representative, of course, is from the art department. So.
Now, with that committee, is it like rotating where you're appointed for 2 years or 3 years and then you have to get off, or is it until you're tired of helping?
Technically, yes, it's rotating and people are reappointed after 2 years. All of our members have been reappointed except one, the select board member, because our member, Nick Priest, since has become the chair of select board, which is an awful lot of work.
It is.
He decided to hand the reins over to another member, Jim Tiggis, who just joined our committee, and it's been wonderful to have Jim helping us out too.
Excellent.
The other members chose to stay, which was great.
Excellent. I love that. So tell me about, well, okay, before I forget, and we'll probably mention this a little later on, Tell me about the unofficial or the official grand reopening or relaunch of the sculpture park.
Well, as most people probably have noticed, there's a whole lot of new sculptures at the
And we
park.
will talk about those.
Because most of the sculptures that we had and the ones that we have are here on 2-year leases.
Okay.
They're very expensive, so we can't buy them all, but we can lease them and enjoy them for 2 years. And so this past probably 5 or 6 weeks, we've had our new installations, and many people have seen them already, but we are having a little event just to celebrate the new sculptures. It's going to be on Saturday, August 20th, starting at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And it's
like a drop-in.
It's a drop-in. You
Okay.
can come anytime, and it's just a great family fun event. We're going to have an ice cream social with free ice cream donated
Ice
by
cream
Wegmans.
for breakfast. What
Yes.
more could you ask for?
And the ice cream is donated by Wegmans. Thank you, Wegmans. And then we're also going to have a balloon artist who is going to be creating what I like to call balloon sculptures.
Exactly, like little
for
take-home
kids,
sculptures.
right. And those are also free. So everything's free. We're hoping everybody will come down,
Love
get some free ice cream, get a balloon sculpture, and then come and enjoy the new art
Check
that we
out
have.
there are some really cool
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I think so.
There are a few that are staying.
Yes.
So let's talk about those first.
Sure.
Like Havoc the dog.
Yes.
Big dog. Actually, one of my friends was just in, I think, South Carolina, and Havoc's cousin was there, a much smaller version. But, so tell me a little bit about Havoc and why he is still here.
Yes, Havoc was, as you know, part of our first installation, and the artist that created Havoc, he has dogs all over the place. They come in really large ones, really small ones. He does other sculptures as well, but he's very well known for the dog. And
But there's only one Havoc.
that's right, there's only one Havoc.
Okay.
And he was very generous, actually, and gave us a really great price on Havoc. So we were able to purchase Havoc, and he can stay. So he will be staying probably in the location where he is now at the Common.
Because you really don't want to pay to have him move to a
Well,
different location.
it's such a great location,
It
too.
is.
It's right on the corner. Everybody can see him. I think he makes everyone smile when they drive
Oh,
by.
absolutely.
Yeah. So he will be staying. And I think you know where the name comes from, Havoc. Yes.
But share with us anyway,
Oh,
because
okay.
not everybody does.
Well, we actually had a contest to see what the name of the dog should be, and there were several entries. And the name that won is Havoc, which is actually the name of the retired Burlington police dog, Havoc. And Havoc actually came to the naming ceremony and got to meet
Really? Oh, that's cool.
the big metal Havoc.
His
He's doing
namesake.
well. He is no longer working. He lives with his handler, with the family.
Excellent.
So he's a
Okay.
family dog now. But that's where the name came from. And I just think it's perfect because
I
it's
love
very particular to Burlington.
Absolutely. And he can actually see the
Yes.
police station from
That's right.
where he is. I think he's facing in the
He
right.
is. He
Okay.
can see the police station.
So that one has stayed.
Yes.
The global warming, which are the yellow cherries, you
Yes.
just had a dedication ceremony because we were
Yes.
able to,
Yes.
you were
Well,
able to do the fundraising.
Yes, the
and
town, really.
purchase
The
that.
town
Okay.
was incredibly generous. The artist that created the global sculpture, the global warming sculpture, the cherries, is from Ukraine. His studio was actually just a little bit outside of Kyiv.
Okay.
And that particular sculpture was a real fan favorite. People really loved it. So we had always hoped to be able to purchase it. But when the war broke out, we felt a desire to move more quickly.
Well, yeah.
And we wanted to help out the artist because we knew that he had been displaced. And so we reached out to the Burlington community, and it was an amazing response.
Oh,
In 3 days, we raised the money
Wow.
to buy global warming. It was $14,000, and there were 3 businesses that participated, and I think it was over 120 Burlington residents that
wow.
all came together, and some people donated $5, and some people donated, one person donated $1,000.
Wow. It adds up.
It was really heartwarming to see. So it took about 3 days to raise the money. It took about 6 weeks to figure out how to get the money to the
yeah.
artist. That was a difficult process. The accounting department in Burlington really had to work hard
Man,
to get that done. But we understand that he is back in Kyiv and trying to rebuild. And hopefully that money helps him. He also donated a portion of the money to Ukrainian refugee efforts as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So.
And then there was a dedication ceremony.
Yes, we had a dedication ceremony.
How did you find out about all the Ukrainian citizens in this area to invite them?
Well, actually, I had the help of one Ukrainian who lives in Burlington.
Okay.
And he told me about this group called the Ukrainian Cultural Center of New England.
Oh.
So he put me in touch with them, and they put me in touch with the rest of their network.
Okay.
And that's how we were able to get other Ukrainian Americans to come and participate, people who read poems and sang songs and taught us about Ukrainian history.
That was an amazing event. It was painfully warm, but
yeah, it was a hot day.
Has been the entire summer.
Yes, but I felt it was very well received, and it was a really nice event for us. You could learn a lot, and it was also very heartwarming.
You actually felt, a part of the global community.
Right, and that's one of the interesting things. When we first chose global warming, when we choose the sculptures, we don't know anything about the artist or where they come from. We look at the piece, yes, and we have a whole process that we go through that involves the schools and everything, but we didn't know until after we chose it that it was coming from Ukraine. And it was kind of a logistical
You're like, how are we going to do this?
problem. I mean, it was difficult to get it here, and we were thinking...
You're trying to get it through customs.
Well, actually, it had to be received somewhere, so we had to have it delivered to John's house, and it was in his front yard for a little while before we could get
he must have liked that.
John's very flexible. So we thought at the time, this was kind of difficult. Maybe we shouldn't do this again. Maybe we should try to make sure we get local artists. But then this amazing thing happened where we learned about the artist, and after the war broke out, there was this community feeling around it, and we felt this connection with a country across the world, and we learned about that country, and we connected with Ukrainian Americans, and it turned out to be this wonderful thing where our little town now has a connection to Kyiv, which is kind of special and exciting, and I'm really glad it happened that way, even though we didn't plan it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So another one that stayed has its own little story is the
Lovebirds.
The lovebirds, yes.
Lovebirds.
Cardinals, that's the word that I was thinking of.
It is called Lovebirds. It's actually created by the same artist that made Havoc the dog.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a Burlington resident, Maureen Wall, and her brothers reached out to the Sculpture Park Committee. They wanted to donate a sculpture to the park in memory of their parents, Thomas and Florence Murray, which we hadn't thought of before, but it's such a wonderful way to honor their parents. It's very personal, it's beautiful and permanent, and I think it was such a wonderful idea. So that was donated by Maureen Wall.
Okay.
So it's staying, and we didn't even have to pay for it. She paid for it. But everyone loves it. It's a beautiful addition to the park.
Really
I think
nice.
it looks great. Everyone loves the Cardinals. It's just, it's really been very well received. Everyone loves it.
I don't remember the details, so I hope I'm remembering it correctly. Does the Lovebirds sculpture also have a little dragonfly on it?
It does. You're very observant.
I remember one of them having a little...
You are very observant.
That's cool.
Yes, indeed. We have a little bit of a dragonfly theme going this year.
But the dragonfly, the little dragonfly on Lovebirds was there before...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
And we'll talk about that one in a minute.
Okay.
Because after I started preparing my questions for this, I'm like, okay, I think those are the only ones that are staying. And then the very next day, I read about Follow Your Heart.
Yes.
Is back.
Follow Your Heart is back in a new location.
It is. So tell me about that, because not only did it combat. Well, it disappeared and then it showed up again.
Yes.
In a new location.
Yes. Well, the idea that the Sculpture Park Committee and the town has always had is that we are leasing these sculptures for 2 years. And during that 2-year period, we can tell which sculptures really resonate with the people of Burlington. Most of the time we're asking people, when people come to events, we have them vote, so we know which sculptures really speak to the people of Burlington. And the idea was, when we can, we would raise the money to purchase some of them and move them to a different location and keep them, but not all.
Right.
So,
but also trying to identify that new location, there's only a finite amount of space.
Well, we have grand plans for expansion.
Oh, okay.
Burlington has lots of space where sculptures would fit in beautifully, in my opinion.
Well, let's finish talking about Follow Your Heart.
So back in May, the Sculpture Park Committee appeared before town meeting and requested funding. Up until this past May, all of the sculptures and everything done at the park was funded by private donations, many from Burlington businesses.
Okay.
We've been very lucky. We've received very generous donations. The one that got us started was from Nordblum Corporation, which owns 3rd Ave and all of that whole area. We've had very generous donations from a lot of our other businesses in town, from Brookline Bank, Gutierrez, from Reamer and Bronstein, and now I feel bad because I'm probably forgetting, I know I'm forgetting some of them, but until May, that's what funded everything in the park. But in May, we went to town meeting and asked for additional funding. We felt that the park had proven itself and had become a real asset to the town. And what we asked of town meeting was to fund 2 things. 1, we wanted to purchase Follow Your Heart.
Okay.
And 2, we want to make some site improvements, which are coming still, and I'll talk about them.
Okay.
But we contacted the artist. We knew what the purchase price was ahead of time. We purchased Follow Your Heart. And he came to take it away for a little while because we had a new sculpture coming in, but he also wanted to do a little refreshing, do a little repainting, and he changed something about the bolts where they're connected, which I'm not sure what it was. It wasn't
structural.
Yes.
Okay.
So Follow Your Heart went home to Rhode Island for a little while, where Mark Coley lives, who is the artist, and it just came back. Follow Your Heart just came back, I think it was yesterday, and was reinstalled. Now he's on the common to the left of Havoc the dog.
Okay.
So he is there on the common, and it is our hope and our idea that in the future we'll be able to purchase other sculptures and move them to other locations in town, possibly along the outskirts of the common. Maybe create a walk one day where people can go for a walk and see sculptures. We have a lot of plans for the future. It may take us some time to get there, but it's always good to have something to strive for.
But like the current park is kind of like a nursery.
Yes.
So you bring all of them there and
Yes.
see what grows.
Exactly.
And then when they grow, they fly out of the nest to
Right.
another place.
And I think
I know
it's
I'm
nice.
mixing up my analogies.
I think it's a great analogy. And it's nice, I think, that not everything stays, because it's more interesting if you're getting in new sculptures all the time. And yet there are some that people just feel very strongly about that we don't want to see go away.
But also, you know, everybody is different and everybody's interpretation is different. So it's kind of nice seeing what else is out there, because you might get other people interested in, I'm talking with my hands again, but other people interested in the park that may not have been before because they couldn't connect with one of the sculptures.
Right, that's right. And we try to make sure that we have a variety. Actually, one of the goals that the committee had with this installation was to try to get a mix of mediums. Our first installation I was very happy with, but we didn't realize until after it was in that there was a lot of metal. A lot of the sculptures were metal, and we hadn't really thought about that.
First time around?
Yes.
Because the first new one was that little wooden bench house
this
thing.
one, so this installation, one of our goals was to have different mediums.
Okay.
So we have wood, we have glass, we have granite, and we have metal. So that variety, I think, is nice to see.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, did we cover all of the returning ones?
I think we did. Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the new ones.
Sure. I'm going to bring my little cheat sheet.
Okay, absolutely, because I don't know what the names are. So the first new one was that little wooden
Yes, that is called Ryby House.
Ryby house. I know it's like it's a house, it's a bench,
Yes,
it's got wood, it
It
has
is made
other
of wood.
media in it too, doesn't it?
It's mostly wood.
Okay.
And it is created by Stephen Klima, who's from Connecticut.
Okay.
And there's a nice little story that goes with that. It's called Ryby House, and it does kind of look like a tree house. And when we asked him what was the inspiration for Ryby House, he said that when his children were little, there was a neighbor who they used to play with a lot, and there was a shed in her yard in the back near the woods.
Okay.
And the children would go behind the shed, and they had some chairs there, and they set it up there, and they called it Ryby House. It was like their secret hideout.
Okay.
And he said he never knew why they called it Ryby House. And when they were children, he asked them, they wouldn't tell. And as adults, they don't remember. But this was his interpretation of Ryby House. And one of the things that's nice about this sculpture is it is kid-friendly. Some of the sculptures we say, please don't climb on them. But this one you can sit in and you can almost go inside, which is kind of fun.
Part of it.
Yeah. So that's Ryby House, and it's to the left as you walk in the park.
Okay. Now, you just triggered another question of mine. When you first get the proposals saying, or get the sculptures,
Yes.
picture, you find out about them. I'm assuming you get a picture of them. When in the process do you meet the sculptors?
Oh, good question. We usually don't meet them in person until installation. We talk to them on the phone before that.
Okay.
But would you like me to talk a little bit about what the process is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll go on to the other ones.
Okay.
We still have time, so you know.
So we work through the New England Sculptural Association. They have
Okay.
been very helpful. We originally partnered with them because we have this group, but we only have one artist in that group.
And
That's
they know what they're doing.
George Ratkovitz, who's at the high school, and the rest of us are not really artists, and we wanted their guidance, and they've been very helpful. So we put out a call to artists.
Okay.
It goes out to the community that is connected with New England Sculpture Association, and then the artists apply. So they submit pictures and dimensions and information about the materials, and sometimes a little description about what they were thinking. We receive those, and the first thing we do, the committee, we go through and we just eliminate anything that might be dangerous. Does it have sharp edges? Could it cut somebody? So we do very little, though, at that stage. We just eliminate anything that might be dangerous, and we hand it over to the schools. And the elementary schools and the high school art students take a look at them, and they each have a different process, of course. The high school students have a much more complex process, but they go through and they discuss them, and we report back from the art teachers about what the kids liked.
I'm guessing that the high school students get the same information that the committee gets.
Yes.
But the elementary school students probably just get pictures.
I think they do, and I think they use stickers. They each have stickers, and they can vote.
Because I'm just thinking they probably
that
don't
way.
really care about dimensions.
Right, so they vote that way.
Okay.
And we get their feedback, which one thing that was surprising to us with both this installation and the previous installation was how much overlap there was between the elementary school students and the high school students. We have some pretty sophisticated elementary school students when you get to their art taste. It's really quite impressive. So then we take their feedback and we pare it down from there, because we can't afford everything that they like.
And financially as well as spatially.
And we want to make sure there's a mix as well. So that's how we arrived at the 6 that we've installed.
Okay.
So Ryby House was the first that was installed.
Okay.
I believe the second one to be installed was Pod, which is the granite piece.
Yeah.
As soon as you enter
It's
the
little.
park.
It's only
It's kind of small. It's maybe 4 feet or so.
Okay.
And it's extremely heavy.
Well, yeah, it's like solid granite.
It is solid granite.
But it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I think there's something very warm about it, even though it's made of stone. So that artist is named David Edelman, and he is from Andover.
Oh,
And this is our
he's
first
local.
granite piece, which is kind of cool because a lot of
Although
sculpture
the
is granite.
benches that were carved.
That's true, you're
It's
right. The
kind
benches
of-
have granite in them, you're right. You're right.
All right.
Forgot about that. So
All right,
anyway,
sorry, I didn't mean to
that's
mess
quite all
everything
right.
up.
So what David told us is that
Pure granite.
he saw
the other
this.
ones were mixed
That's
stone,
true.
so,
That's
okay.
true. He sees this as a loose interpretation of something in nature, like a seed pod of
Okay.
a plant. But I've talked to many other people who see other things. Personally, I looked at it and I thought it looked like a hug. The president of the New England Sculpture Association thought it looked like a scarf wrapped around a woman's shoulders. So
Which is kind of like a yarn hug.
yes, so I think different people see different things in it, which is really one of the wonderful things about art.
Exactly.
So, the third one to be installed, I think, was Seraph, which
That's
is the
the
really
blue stained
tall
glass one.
blue stained
Oh my gosh, that
glass
is amazing.
piece. It is amazing.
Now, with that one,
yes,
you know, you had talked about you narrow out the dangerous ones, but
Mm-hmm.
this is New England. There are New England
yes,
weather patterns.
yes.
Were you afraid or reluctant to get a glass sculpture for an outdoor New England?
It's not really glass. It's
Oh.
acrylic.
Okay.
It looks like glass, and it's inspired by glass. This
Okay,
artist,
I feel so much better now.
yeah, the
'Cause I'm
artist.
like, I could just,
So this artist is Joseph Ferguson. He's currently 92 years old, and he lives in Weston.
Okay.
His sons came and handled the installation, but they told us that when he first began his art journey, he was inspired by the beautiful stained glass windows in churches that he visited in Europe. But he felt like the stained glass should be outside where the light would come through.
Okay.
And that was his inspiration. And he's done most of his work in glass and acrylic in these types of mediums. So this one, Seraph, is mostly acrylic.
Okay.
It's very tall, as you know.
It's huge.
And one of the things that's really cool about Seraph that we notice now, but I think we'll see a lot more in winter, is when the light comes down from the sunlight comes down, it actually casts blue shadows on the grass.
Neat.
And they've told us, the artist's son told us, when there's snowfall, it's really beautiful and amazing. So I'm actually looking forward to snow this year,
Okay.
so I can see the reflections
That would be
of
neat.
Seraph. It makes pictures on the ground, and the play of light will be really fun.
Now, you had mentioned that the artist is 92 years old.
Yes.
Did he make this sculpture recently, or is it like
This
in
sculpture,
his history?
yeah, his sons estimate he made this sculpture about 15 or 20 years ago.
Okay.
He is still sculpting. He is still
Okay.
working, but in smaller scale
Yeah,
for the
this
most
thing
part.
must be like 15, 20 feet high.
It's very, very tall. Yes.
Okay.
So that's Seraph, and
Okay.
it was actually delivered in one piece. Came off the truck,
Wow.
and it's not heavy because it's acrylic. And
Okay.
his sons installed it with John Sachs's help. They just bolted it
Wow.
into the cement base.
Because it looks like, glass and, iron or something.
It's actually relatively lightweight, and you'll notice if there's a real strong breeze, it sways just a little bit, and that's okay.
Carefully back away.
No, that's okay.
It's bolted down really well. Okay.
So I'm trying to remember which one's next. I think the next one was Composition 1.
That's the basketball. It reminds me of a basketball.
It reminds me of something sports related.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
definitely something
It's
sports
not really a
related
basketball
to me.
hoop because it's square. But
Yes. So that piece is called Composition 1, and it is the only piece in the park that is by an artist that we also saw in our first installation.
Really?
Chris Plaisted was the creator of Endeavor, the one that kind of looked like a boat.
Oh, I love that one.
Yes, everyone loved Endeavor.
I love that one.
And
Reminds
this
me of
is-
a Viking ship.
This is very different from that, but
totally.
it's by the same artist. And as I said, his name is Chris Plaisted. He lives in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And it's made of steel and mortar. It's very heavy.
Oh, it looks.
The piece
well,
is very heavy.
The thing in the middle that
That's
looks
mortar.
like a ball, it
Yes.
actually, yeah, I was going to say it's a rock.
Yes, it is. And what's interesting about that, I didn't notice until he pointed out that it's actually flat on the sides
Really?
and rounded around. And he
Oh,
said
okay.
that was important to him, that he wanted to play with something that was both 3D and yet flat at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So it
Kinda
was
interesting.
It was very
the thought
interesting
process that
Yes.
goes into.
Yeah, it's not always what we think. You know, I saw it and I thought sports. It looks like a sports
Absolutely.
thing, but that wasn't what his intent was. So very interesting, and I think it's kind of fun too that it's red and white because Burlington colors are red and white.
See, that
too,
I
so
think
that's
that's what
nice.
triggered it, making me think of basketball.
Probably.
Because in my
Yeah.
mind, basketball hoops are red
Yes.
with the white net.
Yes, I agree with you.
But I
So,
think it's also neat too because my daughter and I were over at the sculpture park, and that mortar, what I thought was a ball, but now you just tell me it's not. It moves.
it does move, and you can move it.
Yeah,
So,
that's what we discovered. It's like,
yes,
ooh,
yes.
don't
and
touch it.
you can touch it. We don't want you to climb on it,
No.
but you can touch it. So.
Okay, so next.
Next was
What's-
Meadow Dancer.
Ah, I love that one.
Meadow Dancer is
the stick
by,
figure dancing.
Yes, I think it's very elegant
It is.
and yet playful at the same time. So John Bonsignoro is the. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. Bonsignore.
Okay.
He is the artist. He is from Connecticut,
Oh.
and Meadow Dancer is stainless steel. It's part of a series, the
Oh.
Toe Dancer series. So he has other sculptures in other dance
So
poses.
if you put them in series, it looks like they're moving. I don't know.
That would be really cool. But we only have one.
I know.
It is 8.5 feet wide and 8.5 feet tall.
Okay.
So when the arms are spread, just like people, your arm span, your
Yes, your arm
wingspan is the
span
same as
is
your
your
height,
height.
usually. So it's just like that.
That's really cool.
And I think it's very cool. And one of the fun things about Meadow Dancer is I have already seen people posting pictures of themselves posing next to Meadow Dancer,
As Meadow
striking the
Dancer.
same pose.
yeah, I made my daughter do that when we were visiting.
And you're not the only one. It's just a fun thing to do. So why not? So that is Meadow Dancer.
Okay.
And then the last one to be installed
Okay.
is called Lumen. It is by Barbara Fletcher, who is just up the street in Lowell.
Oh, okay.
And it was wonderful meeting Barbara. I enjoyed meeting her very much. This is the first piece she's done that's large format. She usually has
Oh.
done smaller sculptures. And she actually has done quite a bit of work in the past for the author Stephen King. Some of her pieces are hanging in his home.
Cool.
She's
Now, this is
done-
the one that looks like a giant dragonfly,
It
right?
looks like it is a giant,
giant
dragonfly.
dragonfly.
It's very cool.
Hence the dragonfly
Yes,
theme with
yes.
the.
It's mixed media. So
lovebirds.
there's aluminum, there's steel, there's some colored. I'm not sure what those are. That the colors inside the body. That
Okay.
the light comes through that as well. And she talked a lot about the symbolism of the dragonfly. That it's good light, good luck. It symbolizes transformation, positive transformation. It's also very connected to water. So this is her first large work, but she was excited about it and said she does think she'll probably do more.
Neat.
So that was really cool.
So, I know this is, my distanced observation, but where that one is, a new plot had to be poured for that one.
That one and Meadow Dancer are new concrete pads. Yes.
Okay, because I thought Meadow Dancer replaced the one with the green concentric rings.
Seraph replaced
Seraph
the
is there.
green
Oh, okay.
concentric rings.
Spatially, I'm
Yes.
getting it
We
confused.
poured 3 new pads this year.
Okay.
One for Lumen, one for Meadow Dancer, and then on the Common we poured one for Follow Your Heart to sit on when it came back.
Okay, so does that mean we
We're growing.
got an additional
We are
one?
growing. We are now up
Growing.
to 9 sculptures. Last year we had 6.
Okay.
So yes, we're growing little by little.
So out of those 9, 5 are new ones? Because we had
I think
Havoc, Follow Your Heart.
1, 2, 3. We have 6 new ones.
Oh, okay.
And then the ones that are the same are,
Havoc, Follow Your
Heart.
Heart, The Lovebirds, and The Cherries.
I guess we have more than that. We have 10.
Cool.
We have
You're
10
growing faster than you
sculptures.
thought.
I forgot about Havoc because I feel like he's just always been
He's
there.
always been there. Exactly.
Yes.
So you mentioned plans to continue or to expand the
Yes.
park.
We would love to do
Without,
that.
if it's top secret information, we don't have to talk
Well,
about it.
there are
But what
plans.
are some of your
Well,
goals?
we would love to expand and out into the community with sculptures, but also perhaps expand out into the community with different forms of art.
Ooh.
So when it comes to just sculptures, we would love at some point to create almost a sculpture walk that would be, so people could come to the little park and see sculptures, but then walk down, perhaps down Center Street and have sculptures in front of the municipal buildings and along the outskirts of the common, so people could walk along there. Who knows, maybe in the more distant future, we could cross the street and have them in the woods of Simon's Park. So,
Well, I think,
Yeah.
when John first was talking about, wouldn't it be cool if Burlington got a sculpture park?
yes.
At that time, we didn't know where it was going. So he
Right.
was actually talking about, well, maybe along Cambridge Street
Right.
on the, in the woods. And but the location it's in right now is perfect.
So we still have a great love of that idea, that if people could see it from Cambridge Street, it would be just really fun and would draw people in as well. And we also would like to expand out into other areas of town, perhaps through our business community. We want to encourage other businesses perhaps to install sculptures on their own private property. We have spoken with Nordblom Company about that, who has plans to do some things like that. So
cool.
hopefully that will happen. We also have been talking with different people in town and different artists about possibly expanding into other kinds of outdoor art, such as murals or sidewalk art or something like that, because we've had such a wonderful reception and people really enjoy seeing the artwork. And there are some areas in town where you may not have the ability to install a sculpture, but
Right.
that doesn't mean you can't brighten things up a bit.
Exactly.
The Pocket Park
I was
downtown.
thinking of the Pocket Park because there's a mural there.
There's a small mural there. I'm not sure exactly who funded that or who
Okay.
painted that, but doesn't it brighten up the whole
does.
place to have that bright blue wall with the butterfly on it? It really
And it's
just-
got like a happy quote on it. I
It
can't remember the
does.
quote right now, but
kindness, something about kindness.
yeah,
I think.
exactly.
So that was very inspiring to us, and we thought, there's probably other walls in town that could be beautified with a mural.
Exactly.
So that's something that we'd like to explore in the
And
future
art
as
can
well.
be hidden in so many places.
Yes. Well, I know in Northwest Park, the Nordblom Company had hired an artist to paint all of their electrical boxes.
Yes, I've seen
And don't
that.
they look great?
They do.
They look so nice, and it's not something that you notice. You don't notice those gray electrical boxes. I think we're all just so used to them that we drive by them and we don't give them a thought. But all of a sudden, there's one that has a lion's face on it and in bright
Remember that one,
color.
but there's
and
one that looks like Starry Night by Van
yes,
Gogh.
I've seen that one
I like
too.
that one.
It's so enchanting, and it makes you smile when you drive by. And it's a way you can add art, and it's not taking up any additional space
No.
because the electrical box is already there. Yeah.
Brilliant. So cool. Okay. Speaking of fun, jumping back to funding, when the sculpture park first came out, I kind of sort of remember like little mini Havoc keychains and
Yes.
Havoc tabletop versions.
Yes.
How did that work? Is it still going on? Was it a finite project?
It's still going on, and when people come on August 20th for their free ice cream, they're not required to pay anything, but if they wanted to,
They could get a
they could make a donation to the sculpture park and get a mug or a t-shirt or a little Havoc chain or a little mini Havoc.
Because the sculpture park also has a logo that looks like a sculpture.
Well, the sculpture park logo was actually designed by two Burlington High School students, And
Really?
unfortunately, I can't remember the names right now, so I feel really bad about that. But they're two students that just graduated in 2022, so
okay.
they were only sophomores when they created
wow. Okay.
the logo. I think they did a great job. It's colorful and playful, and yet it
It's
tells
very
you exactly what it
simplistic,
is.
too, so it
Yeah.
can serve lots of
Right.
purposes.
So they were two Burlington High School art students that collaborated on that.
Excellent. So what are some of the other fundraisers that you're doing?
Well,
do you have any? Do you want to do any? You know?
we are hoping to have another fundraiser in the autumn, probably in September or October, but we haven't really finalized the plans yet, but we're hoping this one will be a grown-up event,
Ooh,
possibly at Grandview Farm.
Okay.
We would like to have perhaps a wine and cheese soiree.
Like a black tie type.
Something like that, and we
Ooh.
would invite the artists to come,
Oh,
and they
neat.
could speak with people about their work. So this is very early in the planning stages, though. We
Okay.
don't really have it finalized at all.
Okay. Well, I don't want to pressure you. If someone, other than the committee members, because there's, you know, you pointed out that each committee member serves a purpose.
Yes.
Somebody wanted to get involved somehow in the sculpture park. Is that an option?
Absolutely.
And
We would
how
love that.
they go about doing that?
Well, first of all of our meetings are public, and we would love to have more people attend our meetings. We have had community members attend occasionally and give us their thoughts and advice and feedback, and we would love more of that. So we're always on the town website when we have meetings. Most of the time we have them by WebEx, so
Okay.
it makes it more convenient for
It
people
does.
to attend. So people can come to the meetings, and we would love their support and their help. We have a few community members who have stepped up and help out at our events, which is great. We could always use more of that. In the future, we do want to formalize that, but we are still in our infancy phases, and we don't really have all of our ducks in a row yet to
Right.
create
Ducks? I was supposed to
a
have ducks?
501c or something like
Okay.
that. That's hopefully coming, but we're just not ready for it yet.
Okay, well, baby steps.
Yes, and anyone can come to our meetings and come to the events and just pitch in and help. We would love it. And anyone can also, if they're interested, could reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk with people about what they would like to see and how they'd like to participate. Because the more people and the more ideas we have, I think the better it gets.
Absolutely. Okay, backtracking.
Yes.
Back to, you know, we were talking about fundraising, and you had mentioned the cost of the sculptures themselves and the lease behind having to get these sculptures. Now, does the cost of that lease include installation, or is the installation separate?
The artist is required to transport the piece here
Okay.
and assist in the installation. The part of the installation that the artist does not pay for is the pouring of the concrete pads
Okay.
that we do through the town. So the DPW has been great
Yes.
helping us out with that.
They
We
are
pay for
amazing.
materials, but
Okay.
they usually don't charge us for labor, which has been
Oh.
great. And the highway department helped us out when we needed to move those very heavy materials for the
Oh
stone
my
benches.
gosh, yeah.
That was
Because
great.
they came from Mary Cummings Park.
Yes, they did. So the artists bring the sculptures, they help secure the sculptures. We want them there because it's their work, and we want to make sure it's installed properly.
Make sure it's the right end facing whichever.
Right, but our side, we are responsible for pouring the concrete pads and
Okay.
preparing the land for them.
Oh, okay. Because I'm thinking, you know, sometimes that could be very intricate, very involved, and
Sometimes it is, because sometimes we need DPW's help. Some of these items are very heavy and can't be lifted by people, and then the DPW comes and helps with, they have the machines that I'm not
the
sure
big
what they're
crane
called,
and
and they help lift them and
the
place
big
them.
scoopy thing,
Yes.
the big, you know, the tall
Yes.
thing.
Right. So it is a process, but it's gone relatively smoothly.
Excellent.
I think the biggest problem we had this year was it was so darn hot. It was hard to find a time when everybody would want to get together to do an
Let's go out
installation.
in 105-degree
Yes.
temperatures, stand in the sun, and do heavy labor.
Yes.
You know. again, speaking of processes,
Yes.
the request went out to the artists in February.
February time frame. I think
Okay.
January. And we sent it to the schools. I think we made our final selections in early May.
Okay.
Maybe it was mid-May. And then the installations happened starting at the end of June and were completed by the end of July.
So when do you need to start preparing the process for the next time, or
Right. Well,
how
if
do you
we
work
stick
all
with
of
this,
that
we are on a sort of a 2-year schedule. That's not to say that we couldn't do anything else. These are at least for 2 years.
Okay.
So at about the 1.5-year mark, we're going to have to start thinking about
Okay.
which ones are favorites. Can we raise the money to buy them? How many more can we lease and do a new call, probably in about 1.5 years. But we're open to other things as well. For example, the lovebirds
That's true,
sculpture
right.
that came to us that was not part of a 2-year cycle, and we are open to other things like that.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens.
Neat. Sculptures, installation.
One more thing that
Yeah,
I could add.
yes.
I had mentioned that town meeting gave us funding.
Yes.
And we used part of those funds for Follow Your Heart. The other part of the funds from town meeting, we want to use to do some site improvements.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who's come to the park has probably noticed that the entrance is not well defined. It's rather rocky and bumpy. It's not friendly to anyone who might have mobility issues.
Okay.
So we want to hire someone, a landscaping firm or something, to smooth that out and put in a pathway and also a bench so that people who might not be as mobile can easily enter.
into
We
the
don't have to
park.
worry about anybody tripping over rocks or anything like that, and then can go down a pathway and sit on a bench and just enjoy all the artwork safely.
Speaking of landscapers, there was a landscaper donation for lighting.
Yes. Bob Navola of the Navola Landscape Lighting. He's been wonderful. He did all of that installation last October for free.
Wow.
He donated his time and his expertise to light up those sculptures. And he did it in a beautiful way because it's not aggressive lighting. It's very subtle. It's
Right.
very soft. And he has very generously offered to come back and adjust the lighting for the new sculptures and add lighting for some
I
of
was
the additional
going to
sculptures.
ask about that. I'm like, well, some are going to be
Yes.
in the dark.
Yes, that's coming. This is a very busy season for him right now,
Oh,
so we're going
absolutely.
to wait until things slow down a little bit. But as soon as he has the time, he has said that he was going to do that for us again.
Excellent.
So he's been very generous.
So what are some of the other improvements that you would love to see at the sculpture? Thinking big. Money is
Thinking
no
big.
object.
Well, the entranceway, I'd like to see it. We're going to smooth it out and make it safer. I'd
Okay.
like to see it built up a little bit, not to be something grand, but perhaps a little more formalized.
Okay.
I'd love to do some landscaping there in terms of adding some greenery and some flowers. Probably not the best year to do it,
Probably not.
but that would be really nice to have. Other than that, I mean, perhaps at some point we'd like to put in a more welcoming sign so that says the Burlington Sculpture Park, so people know where they are. But we really want to focus most of our fundraising and most of our efforts on the art itself.
Okay.
I don't know if the backdrop is as important as the actual artwork.
Okay. Now, for a while, I don't know if this was on John's wish list or if it actually went anywhere, but there was some talk about postcards.
Oh, well, we have postcards.
Oh, tell me more
We
about
have
that.
postcards. They are like the keychains and the T-shirts. People can
Okay.
purchase them, and they are postcards just showing so many wonderful, beautiful spots in Burlington. Burlington's a really pretty town,
is.
and so there's pictures of the Francis Wyman House and the Common and the Sculpture Park, of course. but other in Grandview Farm, other beautiful spots in town. So it's a little pack of Burlington postcards that people can make a donation and take home with them.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like specific to the sculpture park featuring.
Well, there are some that are
Okay.
featuring the sculptures themselves, and then there's some of just other beautiful areas of town.
Do you have any T-shirts?
We have T-shirts. They have the logo of the sculpture park on them,
Okay.
and I have one. I highly recommend. And we have mugs and little keychains. So we're trying to have something for everyone.
And I remember, okay, I'm just the queen of tangents right now because we only have, a few minutes left. But at one point in time, I remember talking to John in the infant stages of the park about security.
Yes.
Is that still an issue?
Well, a lot of people have worried about security. And in the very beginning, one of the major concerns was, what if people destroy the art? What if people steal the art? Things like that. And I don't know if it's because it's right next to the police station, or if it's because
which probably helps,
or if it's because people just genuinely love the art. We have had no vandalism. It's really a wonderful thing. We all hoped that would be the case, and we're really happy to report that we have not had any incidents of vandalism at all.
Because that was, one of my concerns when I saw Seraph.
Yes.
That, again, I thought it was real glass, and I'm like, what could possibly go wrong with a giant stained glass sculpture? And
well, honestly, almost any of these sculptures, if somebody really wanted to damage them, they could. But I don't think people want to.
No.
I think people appreciate them
the art
and are enjoying them, and we're very happy that we haven't had any issues with that. Now, they are covered by insurance.
Okay.
So if that were to happen, the town is covered. But it would be terribly sad.
It would be.
And I'm really happy it hasn't happened.
Yes. Thinking of interactivity, again, I'm just throwing random stuff at you, so thank you. We mentioned that, I already forgot the name of the little house.
Ribey House.
Ribey House.
Yes.
I'm like, begins with an R. Ribey House is somewhat interactive.
Yes.
And
Composition
one,
touch.
unlike the
Yes.
basketball one,
Yes.
is also
A little
somewhat
bit, yes.
interactive. What kind of role in the decision-making process does interactivity have?
Well, it is something we wanted, and we actually, in our call to artists, we did say that we would like things that perhaps moved with the wind or that people could touch and interact with. We didn't get a whole lot of applications that fit that. I guess it's a very difficult thing to do.
Okay.
I think you may know that John Sachs himself has been doing some of his own sculpture
He did
work.
like the bowling ball thing.
He did the bowling ball thing, and he's got a new sculpture in the pocket park that's all little birds that people can interact with and turn.
Okay.
So it's become a passion of his because he kind of realized that this is something that people love. They love to be able to interact with the art, but there isn't a whole lot of opportunity to do that.
Okay.
So that is where that stands, and I think John's done a great job with the works that he has at the little pocket park. A different kind of interactivity, we have little signs next to all of the sculptures, and I don't know if most people may not have noticed, but when you get up close, they each have a code.
QR code.
They have a QR code, and if you scan that with your phone, it brings you to our website, which will give you more information about the sculpture, and also will link you to the sculptor's website.
Okay. And speaking of sculptors,
Yes.
you have partnered with the New England Sculpture Association?
Yes.
Sculpture Park Association?
Just Sculpture Association.
Sculpture
yes.
Association. And as you were reading the artists and where they were from, they are, this time around, all
Yes.
from New England.
They are.
Was that a deliberate choice? So when you get the proposals or get the get the pieces of art, have they always just been from New England?
Well,
or?
no, because that's
I mean,
how we
yes, I
ended
know
up
you
with-
got the
yes.
Ukrainian one, but
Most of them have been from New England. It is
Okay.
not a conscious choice. We don't know that when we look at them.
okay,
We don't know who the artist is. We don't know where the artist is from. We get a brief statement about the piece. We have pictures of the piece and dimensions, and that's where the decision is made.
Okay.
We find out a little bit about the artist after. Although there were some instances where we had to reach out to the artist before selections were made because we had questions about whether or not something could cut someone's hand and things like
Okay.
that. So when we went through that safety phase, we did reach out to some of the artists to ask about safety.
okay.
And indeed, some of them were not safe and were set aside for that reason.
Because I'm just thinking, it would kind of be cool to have like the Ukrainian connection
It
and
was
have
so
it.
cool. Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's cool to have a connection to Lovell or Andover,
Yes.
but it would be cool to have,
It would be.
New Mexico
Right.
or.
And
you know.
I think maybe the submission by the Ukrainian artist might have been an anomaly because most of the artists that submit through the New England Sculpture Association are from New England.
But I wasn't sure, like, if New England Sculpture partnered with, if they sent our request out to.
They do, and anyone could actually respond to
okay.
the call to artists. They would have to, they pay a small fee to apply.
Okay.
So anyone could do that, and that has happened at least once. It just so happens that in this particular installation, they are all from New England.
Okay. So we only have about a minute left, but I want to have you remind everybody about what's going on August 20th.
August 20th, which is a Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's just a fun family event at the park. Just stop by anytime for free ice cream donated by Wegmans and free balloon sculptures on behalf, with love from the Sculpture Park.
And free photo opportunities.
And free photo opportunities. We hope everyone will come. We will be there with our little giveaways for people who want to make donations, but that's not the main reason for it. The main reason for it is just we want everybody to come and see these fabulous new pieces of art and enjoy them.
Because they are really amazing.
I think they are.
And you can also, share ideas about, well, what do you think of that
Yes.
one? What's your favorite?
Uh-huh.
Would also be kind of neat having a little poll that day to see which one's everybody's
We
favorite.
may very well do that. We have done that in the past. It depends on if I get my act together enough to put the poll
All
together.
right, no pressure. So, well, Barbara, thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it so much.
Wanted to hear about all those new sculptures because they are fabulous.
They are.
The prior ones were just as fabulous, and the Sculpture Park is a wonderful place just to meet up with friends for a picnic or, ice cream.
Yes.
Bring your own on non-times if it's not the 20th.
That's right.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I think that we, the Sculpture Park Committee, we just want people to come and enjoy it. And it makes me happy every time I drive by and I see a family there and I see a kid running around in the park. It makes me happy.
So thank you. And I do want to thank everyone at home for tuning in this evening. I hope you have enjoyed learning about art and the news of the Sculpture Park and all the things that are new and all the things that are family favorites and returning. So I hope to see you on the 20th. Hope to see you around town. Have a great night. Good night.
Thank you.